All right, are you looking at moving to Surrey and you want to know the best neighborhood to live in? Well, I'm going to tell you the best neighborhood to live in the entire 115 square mile city of Surrey. And I'm going to do it in this video right after I ask you to please subscribe if you would like to stay up to date on the Surrey and Fraser Valley marketplace. Do me a favor, please click the like button to help me get this information out to more people just like you that are also trying to get moved towards the city of Surrey and they want to know the best possible place to live. And if indeed you yourself are the person that is looking to move to Surrey, you can book a buying consultation with me and my team right now down below in the description with just a few simple clicks at a time that works best for you. And while you're down there in the description, you can, through the magic of the internet, download my Informed Buyer's Guide if you are indeed looking at what it takes to get into a property here in my marketplace. And now on to the best neighborhood in the entire city of Surrey. And that neighborhood is... Yep, that's right, West Cloverdale. And why is it the best neighborhood in all of Surrey? Well, simple. It's where I live. Yeah, that's right. I'm 100% biased. I want to tell you, I am a very big fan of Cloverdale in general. I have lived in multiple properties now in West Cloverdale, and I own an investment property in West Cloverdale. So I'm going to show you the area. I'm a big fan of it. This might be a little bit inside baseball for anybody that wants to live anywhere else in the city, but I'm going to tell you why I like it, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a map tour here. So let's dive into my Google Maps. So let's actually start by zooming out a little bit. This is the city of Surrey. You can see Langley starts here on 196th, but the city of Surrey goes all the way over to Scott Road and cuts off North Delta. So this whole area here is the city of Surrey, even though most people think that the city of Surrey is just Whalley. It is not. It is a much bigger area. Now, there are previous videos where I give you a full tour of the full city, but I want to focus on right here, which is down in Cloverdale, and I want to stress a little bit of a difference in the different areas here. 196, first of all, is the end of Cloverdale, this street here, and the beginning of Langley. So anything on the other side of 196, people think it's 192nd. It is not. Anything on the other side of this, including 200th and everything over, is Langley, including Langley City. Now, Fraser Highway, this is the line, this diagonal line you can see where the SkyTrain is eventually coming down. Currently, the SkyTrain is going to stop right up behind my head here. See if I can show you where, just by the by the Sport and Leisure Center here in Surrey. And then the second arm is scheduled to go out all the way to Willowbrook, which I think is going to be an amazing thing. But the first arm is going to take like 5 to 7 years. Who knows when the next one's going to be done? Because, well, the government's decided that UBC is a more important place to put SkyTrain. But now, Fraser Highway is a big divider, but it's actually a divider when you get out into Cloverdale of two major sections in Cloverdale. Clayton Heights is the north end of Fraser Highway. So anything north, even though it's on a diagonal, anything in this area here to the north side is Clayton Heights. Clayton Heights is the newer area. The homes there will be very nice. They will be a lot more congested. Once you zoom in here, maybe I can even do a bit of a map layer, and you'll be able to see that the congestion in these homes is a lot greater than in some areas. You will even see when we zoom right in, you'll have a lot of laneways and coach homes, all right? So very family-friendly area, a little bit too congested, personally for my liking, if you can get into West Cloverdale. Now, I'm making a very big distinction here. There's Cloverdale, and there's West Cloverdale. Us in West Cloverdale, we put our noses a little bit higher in the air, and we think we're better than everybody. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding, kind of. Anything south of Fraser Highway is technically Cloverdale. So here's the athletic park. This is Provincetown. There's a whole bunch of really cool spots. There's Eagle Crest and Clover Station. Really cool spots. But it's not all West Cloverdale. This is what we like to refer to as Cloverdale proper, because there are in the MLS searches many different ways to categorize Cloverdale. But I'm going to show you a few things here, and I'm going to suggest that West Cloverdale is anything to the west side of Pacific Highway, otherwise known as 176th Street, right? So this is West Cloverdale in here, and I'm going to make some very probably controversial, but very, let's call them distinctions between the area. So now that we're zooming into Cloverdale, where some people think West Cloverdale is, but it's not, is downtown Cloverdale. I'm not a big fan of the area for living. I know people have told me that I'm a jerk realtor and they hope that realtors all die because I don't like the area. Not far off of a real comment actually on this channel. But I'm just not a big fan of it. Like the Henry's down there, there's some good restaurants down there, the Vault's down there. It's a cool spot to be. I personally don't want to live there, but just on the other side of 176 is where my preferred living area begins, if we're going to call it that. So there are some great spots here. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you'll see it better on the maps here. You see this green line that kind of goes across Cloverdale, up the hill from Cloverdale? That's a power line corridor. So continue to keep that in mind when you're looking in Cloverdale. There is some power line corridors and things that people do or don't want to live by. The reason that I'm not necessarily a big fan of this kind of downtown area is, first of all, it's very close to floodplain. A lot of people don't know that. But it's also, you know, there's a casino here, there's the racetrack, there's the fairgrounds, and there's a lot of kind of lower income and rental housing in this area. And personally, it's not where I choose to raise my family. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here. Let's go back to the other map. Now, West Cloverdale. Let's suggest that this map in its entirety is West Cloverdale, and I'll kind of take you through a tour. So when you're coming down 176th Street, because that's how most people not from Surrey are going to get to Surrey or into Cloverdale, you're either going to come down Highway 10 from Richmond, or you're going to come down 176th Street from North Surrey or from Burnaby and Coquitlam. All right. So then we have 64th Avenue, which is kind of the top end of West Cloverdale. 56th Avenue is kind of the bottom end, 176 all the way to 160th. That is where I deem to be the best area, but let's even break that down a little bit further. Right in behind the Brickyard Shopping Center, which is a pretty cool spot. There's a new Coast Appliances, Trail Appliances, and everything down here. There's supposed to be at some point some ice rinks going in that same area. This is all old town, old-timey houses in the west side of Cloverdale. It's very also close to floodplain. It's not, but it's close. The Cloverdale Catholic School is there. A lot of these homes are 10,000 square foot lots, but they're like 1940s, 1950s built. So a lot of guys have now, builders specifically, bought those homes, torn them down. You cannot build 3-story in this area. So they are devalued a little bit, but they're really, really big lots. However, if you're building a home in that area, I think you're ridiculous, because I don't know if it's going to show it here. No, these are a little bit outdated. All of these homes along 60th Avenue, all of these homes down 176, and a bunch of these homes in this area, including some of the 20,000 square foot lots. A lot of this stuff in here is going to be rezoned, and it's going to be rezoned for townhouses. So if you have a home in this property that's an old timer, I say hold on to it and try and get it into an assembly. Not necessarily the best current place to live when you do have a lot of those guys holding properties and rentals and stuff going in there. But let's keep moving on. A little bit further to the west, this is what we call Cowtown. Why do we call it Cowtown? Well, because Jersey Drive, Angus Place, Holstein Street, the streets are all named after cows. That's why we call it Cowtown. It was built in the 70s and some of it in the 80s. There's a couple down here on Friesen Drive and Richardson Ridge that are built in the 90s or early 2000s. Great spot to live, really good family area. It's kind of those old streets that don't necessarily have as much sidewalk and stuff as the new ones do. No big boulevards and that sort of thing. But really, really good spot to be. Not a lot of houses coming down yet in that area. When you go further north, this whole section between 168th Street, 176, 64th, and 60th, really, again, 70s and 80s built, lots of 80s built, some 90s even. There was some farms that were taken out of here in different pieces. You've got George Greenaway Elementary. Good school, technically known as an inner city school, just so you know, because it does get a lot of kind of the inner city kids from the flats, we call it, in downtown Cloverdale. But lots of houses, again, coming down in these areas and new, bigger houses being built. So that's something to consider. Just off our major shopping, just if you're interested in Cloverdale at all, Save on Foods, London Drugs, everything is on the corner of 64th and Pacific Highway. We always call it 176. Nobody calls it Pacific, just so you know. Then we've got a bunch of row of homes just north of this, actually, off of 66 is actually ALR land. So getting back into floodplain again. So you got to watch. Well, you don't got to watch. You're not buying ALR land. North of 64th Avenue is where some of the townhouses are. So we have 3 different sets of townhouses here. I think you can kind of see it. Let's do this. There we go. So the first one is Kentucky. Kentucky is large 2-story with basement townhomes, lots of family friendly type stuff in there. Next door, really large. If you're a downsizer, really, really large. Lexington. Lexington is like 3,200. I think they're 24 to 3,300 square foot. Master on the main, 2-bed up. Just really, really cool kind of a not downsizers, almost an adult community. I think they say that, you know, they're adult community, but there's no actual age restriction, so you can have family in there. And then you've got the actual adult community, which is Turnberry. Turnberry is age restricted, so it's mostly for people getting up, and I think it's 55 plus. Could be 45. No, it's 55 plus. Now, if you're looking at any of these complexes, I want one thing to warn you about: parking. If you get 2 parking spaces in every single one of these complexes, and they're usually inside your garage, in the event that you need more parking, don't buy these complexes, because your parking is not on 64th Avenue, which is a major corridor, right? So you're likely, you have people parking ways away if it's anything more than visitors. Interesting side note, this is actually the Alzheimer's little care home type thing in behind. And then if you've ever watched the PGA and watched, I don't know what Open was, a Vancouver Open. I don't watch golf. I don't know. But this is where the PGA actually played their course. So that's pretty cool. Downsizing from there. Interesting, cool spot. I have no idea. I'm really not sure why this property is still available or why it hasn't been converted yet into anything. Big wooded area on the corner of 64th and 168th. I'm assuming eventually it will be converted into something. Right next door, we have Ridgewood Townhomes. Again, they are probably more adult. They go very, very strange in Ridgewoods. They'll go anywhere from 1,800 square foot 2 stories to like 3,200 square foot 2-story with basements, 3 stories. They got all sorts of wonderful stuff. Next door is one of my favorite complexes in the entire world, St. Andrews. These are luxury, high-end 2-bed, 2-bath and den condos, 3-story condos built by, I think, Rempel, but I might be wrong. And one thing I want to kind of point out here that you may or may not be noticing is these cool little walking paths that all go along. And I think they actually even had the same kind of ones in behind here in Lexington. So there's lots of cool walking paths where you don't have to be on the busy street. One thing I want you to know about these guys, and I guess it applies to everything, the ones that face 64th Avenue, specifically in St. Andrews, really, really... the price varies a lot. Then the next price is kind of the ones that face north into the courtyard, south, and then onto the golf course. But interesting note, look at all these guys. They look like they face the golf course really, really nicely. There's a big tree line right here, and most of these units have completely blocked views. Now, the story goes, and I don't know if it's true or not, but the story goes the developer there tried to work out a deal to get all those cedars cut down. Never happened, and there was some sort of conflict between the developer there and the owner of the golf course, and yeah, as a result, not very nice views, but what are you going to do? Now, let's go back out. Now we're going to get into what we call real West Cloverdale. in my opinion anyway. There's AJ McClellan Elementary School. There is a variety of different types of homes in this section from 60th all the way up to 64th. You are going to end up with Isle of Man built kind of smaller, I think they're RF10 type properties. Down 167B, you're going to have some RF9s down 168. So those are smaller properties with garage or detached garage in the back. Then you're going to end up in some different areas. This section kind of north of 63rd Avenue was all mostly, if I remember correctly, all individual builders. So they're really big homes that were sold off as lots, individual builders. So you could have a mix of each builder in that area. But down in this section, back across 168th, this was the original Foxridge build. So they were built in the late 90s. Foxridge did a development in there. Then Foxridge came across and did some early kind of 2000s developments over off of 165 and 164 and south of 60th or 61st, sorry. And then the big Foxridge development, which is some of the nicest homes in all of West Cloverdale, is everything from little tiny homes right on the corner of 164 all the way up to estate homes with views down on 163B. The downside to a Foxridge home, what I find is most of them these days, maybe not the older ones, but these days most of them are only 3 bedrooms upstairs, and a lot of families are looking for more space than that. Let's keep going here. So you've got a bit of a custom built area. Now, I don't know if this is even going to show it. This is how old Google Maps are. This area is now all developed. This whole section, this is a massive area in townhomes. And then we have Bose, where I actually own my investment property. Let's take a look here and see if it shows. Yeah, see the new streets are put in. Now, see this silly road right here? Let somebody zoom in on this. I want to give you a little bit of a story on this silly road. So 164 was supposed to curve and go to 63rd Avenue, and then 164A was supposed to curve and go to 62A Avenue. So the whole thing would kind of be this nice sweeping road system. But the people against everything wanted to keep the park, so they actually built the road around. They allowed less single-family detached homes, and that's how we got all this density here in these big density townhomes and condos. So that has actually added to some crowding in AJ McClellan Elementary and shifting of a bunch of the townhouse complexes in West Cloverdale to have their kids now go down to Surrey Central. So Surrey Central School is down here. There's also a big cemetery. Now, if you're looking to be in West Cloverdale and you want a townhome, pay attention because this is likely where you're going to end up. There are, let's see if I can do it this way. Here is Chestnut. Chestnut is a very small development. A lot of people are not going to end up there, but that's one of the first ones. The next one is Laredo. Laredo is a lot larger, more affordable complex than most. Great spot to start off. Probably not where your more experienced buyers or your savvier buyers are going to be buying, because right next door you've got, in my opinion, the two best townhouse complexes in the entire planet, because I used to live in one of them. Harvest, which are big, like nice, beautiful, big backyards. Big backyards for a townhouse. 2,200 square foot. They're often 3 or 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. Really, really good spot. These just a couple years ago were selling for like $699. Now they're selling for like 1.3. And then right next door is Westfield. Very, very comparable. Some of them even have bigger parking pads, as you can kind of see in the picture, hopefully. Again, 3 beds. These ones are only 3 baths, so they're less bathrooms than just next door, but probably one of the townhouses that you're going to get into. Here's the first development to Foxridge I was telling you about. And then one of my absolute favorite complexes as well, which is Arbor Village. They're a little bit smaller, but a little bit newer. You can get things like, extra parking on the end units. There's a whole bunch of benefits that you can get from being in Arbor Village. And these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units up top are like 2,700 square foot units. So they're really, really cool. Now, Let's keep going. Again, this is the Foxridge development. I don't know if I can zoom in on any of these, but I'm a really, 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 really big fan of these homes. And there was even a little development right here, pulled out of the ALR, believe it or not. I've never seen that happen before, but massive, big homes. But if you want to live in West Cloverdale, you likely want to live in Bell Ridge or the Highlands. So this is the spot where I wish I could move to one day. So there's a hint, I don't live there. But you have some smaller lots in, like, you know, Isle of Man built homes up in this area. Not necessarily absolutely the nicest, but as soon as you get into off of Bell Road, off of 59th Avenue, 58A, these are all large, beautiful estate homes. And if you can, this is the place you want to live. Now that extends all the way down until you hit kind of the farmland and Highway 10. There's a bunch of new development coming down here, and I won't be shocked if a bunch of this kind of ALR land or whatever this stuff is turns into commercial, which I believe it may. And then the end of West Cloverdale is the Serpentine River. Now, there are Hook Greenaway walking path, which is this guy that you can see kind of right in here. It actually goes up, and I'm assuming they call it the Hook because it hooks here, and it, believe it or not, continues all the way down 64th Avenue and actually goes right over basically as far as 176th Street. But that's not the most popular walking path in the area. The most popular walking path in the area is technically an illegal walking path, which is the dikes. The dikes are technically private property, also helped by either the provincial, I guess, or city to maintain them. But man, the amount of people that walk down on the diking system in West Cloverdale and walk your dog and all that stuff, well, I don't think we're supposed to be there, but we are. So there is my recommendation. If you're moving to Surrey, I want you to heavily, heavily, heavily consider the fact that you should look at West Cloverdale. I think it is the best spot to be in the entire city, and I think so much that I've owned 3 properties in this area over the years, more properties than I've owned in any other particular neighborhood. Just for your reference, and now that we've kind of covered those areas, this is Realtor.ca. You can take a look for yourself anytime at Realtor.ca to see what is available in the specific areas that I've told you. Cowtown, let's take a look here. Well, Cowtown and Old Town, I guess you would call it. You know, these old-timey lot value type properties, very, very common. 1.5 million bucks up north of 60th. Like I said, you're going to get into these 1970s and 80 builds. Here's a very typical kind of BC box, what we call the BC. Hey, this one's been nicely updated and renovated, so that's in a good spot. That's asking 1.724. Let's keep going here. I'll show you something in St. Andrews. Those are those luxury condos. This one's on for $975. Must be a nice unit because it's a lot more than my last client paid for in there. But as we said before, they are luxury. Oh, this is a big one. Okay, this is one with the living room, dining room, family room, all in a condo, plus 2 beds, plus a den. I'm gonna pop back out here and get you down into, is there anything to show you in Bose? These are the more affordable Bose condos. I believe this property went into multiple offers and sold for near $700,000 just the other day. Let's keep going. Down in Bell Ridge, you can get some of these beautiful estate properties, 3-car garages. This is on for almost $2.3 million. Beautiful stuff there. And I'll point out just one of my favorites too, which is Foxridge. These properties have been on for a little bit of time actually, but you can get into some nice looking Foxridge homes. These are, 3,000 square foot, 4,000 square foot lots. A lot of builder grade stuff, but really good family area and family friendly stuff. I'd be interested to know what you think the best neighborhood is, and if you're proud of your neighborhood in the city of Surrey, leave it down below in the comments. I think there are other great ones. I'm just totally biased, like I said, to this particular neighborhood. If you want to learn more about it, or if you're looking to sell your property in the area, you can book a call with me right now down below in the description with just a few simple clicks. Please remember to subscribe, click the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and we'll see you in a couple of days.